Hi, welcome to Montana State of Mind with me, Montana. We are at the end of our horror novel series where this month we have been reading some spooky kooky novels, and they have been quite the haunted hayride, if you will. Some have been a little more scary than others, but they have all been a really great time. Before I get into our recap this video, I know at the beginning of this month, I was updating y'all on my haunted house that I'm experiencing. And so I thought I would give a little update on that because still haunted, but I have some good news. So I know a lot of y'all, if you go back to my first horror novel, what did we read? We read Ghost Song. So if you go back to my Ghost Song one, I kind of mention it. And I've kind of posted some updates here and there. But the main crux of my haunting was that my dear snake, Evangeline, was locked in her tank. I could not find her key. I called the company, and of course, they don't answer or do anything. I reached out on Reddit for people, because I can't be the only person who's lost the key to their, tanks and cages and things. And of course, a ton of people were just like, the key on this tank is like one of a kind. Anyways, I drilled the top off the tank to just in the meantime. But let me tell y'all this story. Real trigger warning. If you are scared of snakes, please skip to the next chapter because I do want to show off my dear Evangeline. And I know it's a common phobia. So just skip to the next chapter if you don't want to see the cutest snake in the world. Okay, I have refilmed this probably 3 times because I get so wrapped up in trying to promote proper snake handling and snake facts and snake husbandry and all kinds of stuff that I will ramble for on and on. So I'm going to try not to do that while I bring Eva out for y'all to see. Here is Evangeline. She is a banana ball python. For those audio listeners, she is a beautiful shade of that buttery yellow, that buttercup yellow. And then she has like a goldenrod ombre into a nice tan pattern on her. She is speckled with little brown freckles. They're so cute. Look at her cute little freckles. Every time she sheds, she gets more. But yeah, she's like this gorgeous 1970s color scheme of like browns, tans, goldenrods, like this creamy white. She's absolutely gorgeous. She has beautiful green eyes that I can't show you because I'm afraid my ring light's gonna like really bother her. Let's see if I can get her up here. She's kind of getting a little tired of me handling her already. Let's see. I know. Here's a little... Again, that pattern's just gorgeous. I love her. I love all snakes. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, every single one of them. I'm a huge snake fan. I worked at a zoo and literally just hung out with snakes for 4 years. Me and my husband, actually, that was what we kind of bonded on. I won't get into like our love story by any means. No one wants that recap. But he used to actually help Louisiana Game and Fish tag alligators in college. He doesn't do that anymore. But we love catching snakes in our area and educating our children on them. Nothing's better than my husband going out mowing the pasture and then coming back with the biggest rat snake wrapped around his arm to show the kids while we're like in the pool swimming. But I say that to say we are both educated on snake handling. We are both knowledgeable, respectful, all that good stuff. Again, I'm going to try to do this my best because God, I can ramble about snakes and my anger towards influencers on TikTok and the social media realm that show improper handling of snakes. The people that stand at boardwalks and piers and they're holding snakes going, "Do you want to take a picture with my snake? She loves it. My snake loves going shopping with me. My snake loves going to Home Depot with me." Your snake doesn't. Snakes don't like being out in the open. They are prey animals. They want to be in nice, tight, dark spaces. Like right now, that's what Eva's doing. She's trying to find her little hidey hole. She's like, I really don't want to be out here. We call her Eva the Diva because she is such a little diva. A lot of ball pythons are. I don't recommend them. They're actually very difficult snakes to have. Anyways, that being said, please do not propagate those people. Snakes have terrible eyesight. They cannot watch TV with you. I saw a TikTok recently of someone saying their snake was watching TV. They can't. They can't. Baby girl, they can't see it. Oh, well, they can see the movements. They can't. Not really. They can't see. It's hard to explain without going again into my biologist, like, on and on and on. But I promise you, they can't watch TV with you. They can't hear your music. They don't care about you. Snakes, I'm going to be bold, and this might anger some people who even enjoy snakes. Snakes do not have the capacity to love. They are little reptiles, and they have little reptile brains. I love Eva. I love my Evangeline. She has a little reptile brain, okay? That brain just wants to have sex, sleeps, and eats. Don't we all? Okay. I think some of us have a reptile brain. She cannot love me like my dogs, my cats, birds, any mammal, any bird, all that kind of stuff. They don't have the capacity or the intelligence to do that. However, they do feel fear and they do feel safety. And right now, Eva is fed. She had a huge rat the other day. She is in a safe environment. I don't have her out in the open in my yard. And I'm in a clean environment. My hands are washed. I'm not passing her off to strangers for pictures. So we're doing the best we can here. You know, she's kind of done this her whole life, so she gets it. But yeah, please don't propagate stressing snakes out. They are not mindless eating machines. They deserve our respect. We need them in the ecosystem. Again, I would not be a snake ally if I did not take this time to give a quick PSA of, I live in the country too, guys. I know venomous snakes can be very scary, especially if you have small children and dogs. My word of advice, okay, and I'd practice what I preach, go ahead and educate yourself on what you will do if a snake bites anybody. You gotta, as they say, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready, okay? Now, when you are bit by a snake is not the time to then learn what that snake is or where you need to go. You should probably already have a first aid kit. You should probably already have a snake identification system in place. Learn what snakes are around your area. It's not hard. North America doesn't have as many venomous snakes as you think. Also, teach your kids. I teach my kids. Don't just be lifting shit. Poke it with sticks first. Kick it with your feet. Don't be lifting rocks and logs and make a lot of noise. Always make a lot of noise. Now, if you do think that you live in a very heavy snake-filled area, it's because of rats. Rats and mice. Snakes are not territorial. They just go where the food is. Okay, guys? So if you have a lot of snakes in your area, it's because you have a lot of rats in your area. So if you get rid of the rats and you get rid of the snake, if you get rid of the rats and you get rid of the mice, the snakes will not stay. They just want to go where the food is. Again, little reptile brains. They just want to eat. They want to fuck and they want to sleep. That's all this creature wants to do, okay? I know we've dated a guy like that, but I promise you, they mean well. All right, so that is Eva. I'm going to go put her back because she's giving me quite the little, hold on, she's about to fall off. She's giving me quite the arm workout. She's heavy despite her size. She's a heavy, dense little creature. So I'm going to go put her back and tell y'all my haunted story, okay? Okay, Eva the Diva has returned to her condo upstairs. Now, if you go watch my ghost song video, you can kind of get the little 411 on like my haunted house situation. So for an update for those who care, again, you can skip chapters. I put chapters conveniently down below so you can skip to the good bits and ignore all this crap. But y'all, okay. So remember, I couldn't find Eva's key. There were footsteps, thuds, all kinds of stuff. A big black bird banged on all of my kids' windows at the same time. They all came downstairs and were like, a big black bird or something just rammed into all our windows. And I'm like, how? And we looked, couldn't find anything. They thought it was our cat. I said, our cat can't get on the roof, kids. Anyways. A lot of just weird coincidences, but it is spooky season, so let's kind of lean into it, shall we? If you go watch real quick my Jeff the Mongoose video, and I'm not saying that to promote like my own YouTube channel, I think I do a pretty good job telling the story, or just Google it, GEF the Talking Mongoose. It's a fascinating story, but it kind of goes with this because is it a fae? Is it a demon? Is it a ghost? Is it just a lot of weird coincidences? Because, okay, couldn't find the key. So I was very desperate. We searched everywhere. I keep a very tidy home, y'all. I'm a very clean person, especially with like the dogs, the kids. I keep a very clean house despite all that. That being said, I had everybody looking for this key. Kids, husband, dogs, like everybody was looking for this key. And again, it's tidy. So it's like, there's no place for it to necessarily get lost because I don't keep a lot of stuffy, dark corners. Even my junk drawer is organized. Could not find it. I searched everybody's closets for pockets. If it fell, God forbid, maybe it fell in the laundry. I don't know. We searched everywhere. I have a big green ribbon on it, so it's not like a little key was lost. It had a big, giant keychain on it. Still could not find it. In the meantime, I took Eva's tank, like the top literally off. I drilled it off to get to her because she's in a gorgeous white PVC tank that I spent a tax return on. But anyways, I drilled the top off of it and so I could clean and feed her. I was so desperate to find this key. I was like, all right. Let's burn some incense. Let's put a bowl of other keys out because everybody's got like a shit ton of keys that we don't know where it goes to, but God forbid you get like rid of them and you're like, oh no, there's a treasure chest in the backyard. I had a key to it. Like, why do we hold on to these keys? Anyways, we all look like little janitors, like, oh, I need these keys, even though I only own 3 doors. But we have a shit ton of keys for some reason. I guess every time we move, we just take keys with us. I put the keys on top of the tank. I burned incense and I said out loud, please take any trinket you want, take any toy you want, take any piece of jewelry. I don't care. But please do not take her key. I need this key to feed her, to take care of her. You're kind of interfering with like something's life. Essentially, like, fuck with anything. Don't fuck with my pets, my animals. Take one of the kids' fucking Legos or something. I don't know. I've got a literal jar full of colorful buttons that my kids play with. Okay, like the autism's definitely passed down. My kids' favorite thing is this bowl full of buttons. And they just sit there and organize and reorganize and hold on to them. Anyways, I was like, go take the jar of buttons. Buttons are great. I have tons of little trinkets around this house. As you can see, I love antiques. Go take something. Take your pick. But please, for the love of every snake god in existence, please bring back her key because I can't find a duplicate to it. Of course, this company that makes this tank is so busy. They won't answer their phone. They won't get back to you. I don't know why they won't just sell spare keys on their website. I went on Reddit. Someone had the exact same problem a year ago. They just found their key, so it wasn't super helpful. Anyways, y'all. So I put the key out. I said, please, please, please bring back my key. And I put on a hoodie the next day that I had checked twice. I checked that hoodie twice, y'all. I put my hands in the little kangaroo pouch pocket, found the fucking key. Found the key. And I know what you're saying, Montana. You obviously didn't search that hoodie good enough. The key's been there the whole time. Probably. Believe me. I am of a scientific, skeptical brain most of the time. But for spooky season, I was kind of like, you know what? Maybe they found something they liked more. Maybe they understood that I meant them no harm. I don't care what y'all do. Just please bring me back that fucking key. But they did. And so I have the key back. Y'all saw Eva. She's healthy. She's thriving. She's moisturized. She's glowing. She's now back in her lovely little condo, taking her 18-hour nap. And so listen to this though, because that wasn't the end of all this stuff. My husband works out of town at the moment, and he said even where he was, things were falling, shutting, just things were happening. And I was like, well, that's because like you're perceiving, and like if you think about it, you notice those things, that kind of instance. But he did say he had a pallet of water bottles on a table and they just fell off. And he was like, in the middle of the night, and it scared the bejesus out of him. And he was like, how does a pallet, you know, like the little wood things that the water bottles come in, he's like, how does it just fall off a whole ass table? How? And then my husband is a pen nerd, P-E-N, pen, the writing pen. He's very particular about his writing pens, and he goes to specific Walmarts to get, or Targets to get the certain level of pen he needs. I don't know. And his pens started missing. His beloved pens, they were missing. And he was absolutely called me irate because something was stealing his pens. And I was like, well, my husband works in construction. And I was like, maybe you just, they're in some dirty work truck or they're in some dirty construction. I don't know. And he was like, no, someone's taking my pens. Anyways. Well, when I did that key thing, all of a sudden, his instances stopped as well. He was like, hey, did you do something to make it stop? And I said, well, I put a bowl of keys out and I asked it nicely to not do that. And he said, oh my God, well, it stopped over here too. Weird. So it is cold here and then it gets really hot in the afternoons. And so a lot of bugs are coming out of the woodworks trying to figure out a place to hide for the winter. Y'all, I had so many flies outside. I thought it was the Amityville Horror. It was a concerning amount of flies. I thought something was dead. I walked around. I rode my four-wheeler around my property to try to find something that was dead maybe. Couldn't find it. I even used Dolly, my little basset hound, tried to see if she could find something stinky. She couldn't find anything. Like, could not find anything. I asked my neighbors. They didn't know. I had a concerning amount of flies in my house. I was upset, y'all. I don't get upset a lot, but I was kind of freaking out. Like the Catholic kid, the ex-Catholic in me was kind of like, oh my God, there's a demon in my house. Now, I bombed the house with hot shot. I took the kids and the dogs and every animal out, you know, like, and I was like, we got to hot shot this house. And I killed it all. And now I'm dealing with a few flies here and there. But y'all, I'm telling you, we opened the window, like not open the window, but open the curtain. And we counted 32 flies on one window. It was insane. I've never seen that many flies. I don't know. Just weird shit. Oh, and then this morning, last bit, this morning. So I have some wine bottles that I like the labels to, and I put taper candles in them. So it'll melt. It's kind of giving rustic Italian, you know, candle in the wine bottle look. And I have a few of those in my kitchen that I light in the evenings for ambiance. And I woke up this morning, the candles are gone. They're not in the wine bottles. I asked my kids, did y'all take the candles out? And they were like, no. Like the older one, like he knows, like, no, why would I do that? Why would I incur your wrath on me? No, I didn't touch anything. And then the youngest, he said, oh, the ghost did it. And I was like, you know, come on. Like, I know, like, did you take it? And you're just like playing that it's the ghost. Like, I need to know where these candles are. You can't just leave wax somewhere in this house. And he was just determined. He said, nope. It was the ghost. And you can't trust like a 3-year-old. So I was like, whatever. But I just think that's weird. Where did those candlesticks go, y'all? Where did they go? Where are the candlesticks? It's weird. Oh, I don't know. I'm hoping that whatever is in this house is just mischievous and is like, I'm going to fuck with candles and I'm going to fuck with buttons. I hope it stays that level and not Amityville Horror. Because I can't leave this house. We pay too much money. We ain't got money in the bank to move. We have to stay here. So it's definitely going to be like, y'all going to have to just learn to live with it. All right. For as much as we pay. No, I ain't going nowhere. The demons are just going to have to, y'all going to have to pay rent. If y'all are going to live in this house and start fucking with my shit, I'm going to charge. Snake PSA, haunted house update. Let's get into this thing. So if you're new to this channel, we read vintage novels, those little paperback novels that you would find at the drugstore. No one ever read them, really. And yet they were everywhere. And you're just kind of like, what is in these novels? Watch this channel. You'll see. They are wild. But I love it because I love breathing life back into this literature. I love going back and just being like, there are some stories in here that are absolutely original and fantastic, and I love them. They're wild, they're camp, but my God. So we've been doing horror novels, and I say horror loosely because some of them I'm just like, We will discuss the cover art, and someone had a great point in my last video if I should describe the cover because a lot of y'all are audio listeners or literally just can't see. Like, shame on me for forgetting like the people who can't see in the fucking world. Anyways, so I should probably describe these gorgeous covers, which I will from now on. And then we're going to do some fictional author lore. Now, we've already done Caroline Farr, but we can add to it. And then we will do a wonderful recap where I will tell you what happens in this novel. And then at the end, I will give my critiques, criticisms, rants, raves, my state of mind. And then I will tell y'all the next book coming up the docket. Let's get into this cover. Caroline Farr loves a girl in a lilac dress running away from a castle. A lot of her covers are girl in a very not good for that terrain outfit and running away from an ominous castle. Definitely has, like, their cover artist definitely had like that down on lock. Now she's wearing a pearl necklace. Again, not super practical. She's got this gorgeous black hair. She's got really bold black eyebrows. I kind of love the eyebrows that she has. She is in this 50s. This book takes place in the 60s, but this is more retro at the time, 1950s kind of dress, where it is going to be kind of like a t-shirt almost with a tighter sleeve bodice all the way up to her neck. And then it's going to go out into that full 1950s skirt. And it's just, again, a solid pastel, soft pink lilac kind of color. She has this little pearl necklace that's jangling as she's running. She's running in water. There's a cliff behind her with an ominous castle, very dark purples, blues. And she's running in the water of the ocean under the cliff. Like, she's running away from it. And that's pretty accurate because in this novel, this girl goes fucking through it trying to get away from this castle. So this is pretty accurate. And yeah, she's got her skirts picked up and she's just like trying to hightail it away. And away from what, I ask? Well, let me tell you. Now, Caroline Farr, we did Witch's Hammer earlier. So we did have our initial author lore, of which we learned real talk. Caroline Farr is an actual pen name for a man in Australia that wrote a shit ton of books. And I wish I had known that, because now knowing that a man wrote this, I can't help but read it through that lens of like, of course a man would write that. Of course a man would write that. As if some of our women authors haven't wrote literally the same thing. I know. But reading it through the lens of knowing that it was a man that wrote this, I'm just like, it just puts a little damper on there. Now, Caroline Farr, let's add to the fictional made up author lore, because I don't want anybody's estates coming after me saying I tainted their reputation. So again, Caroline Farr, remember, she was click-clacking with her Chinatown plastic jewelry in the club, dancing to Xanadu with her adorable little blunt bang brunette bob, wearing her Miss Me jeans, her little cowgirl boots, definitely letting loose on a Friday night after a long week, at the construction site, all that stuff, that blue-collar worker putting on a wig, going to town. And then we had her mixing up bucket margaritas in the kitchen, because that's what Caroline's going to do. She's going to mix up bucket margaritas, because I love those. Those are great. Do they make those anymore? I have not seen those. But then again, I don't shop at Walmart anymore. So like, I'm a Costco girl. And Costco ain't got bucket margaritas. Do they? Am I missing it? I don't know. Anyways, so let's think about what Caroline's doing this Halloween. What would Caroline be doing? What would Miss Caroline be doing this Halloween? She's absolutely, again, got her and some other like guy friends that like to dress in little daytime drag at the club. Like they're going to do a little group costume for sure. What are they going to be? They're probably going to be like, because they're from an older generation, they're probably going to be like Rainbow Bright characters because they never got to wear that when they were little boys. So they're probably going to be like little slutty Rainbow Bright characters. And Caroline's, is she going to be Rainbow Bright? She might be. She's definitely a strong leader. So I would see her as taking the helm of being and the responsibility of being Rainbow Bright, and the others being like Indigo and Red Butler or whatever the other characters were. I liked the pink girl. She was my favorite. That being said, or maybe they're doing a little strawberry shortcake. No, I would see her doing Rainbow Bright. She's more of a Rainbow Bright girl than a strawberry shortcake. Yeah, that's definitely more her aesthetic. But I can totally see her doing that. And that would be so cute. You know, like she's off with her little friends and they're finally living like the dream they wanted to live as like little boys in the 80s that they couldn't because they had to dress like Ghostbusters. And they were just like, I guess because I get to carry around this cute little gun. And they really wanted to be Sigourney Weaver from Ghostbusters. But again, their dads wouldn't let them. Ugh. So now they finally get to live their dream and they get to be Rainbow Bright. What are y'all going to be for Halloween? I ain't going to be crap because I have nowhere to go. Again, when you live out in the country, Halloween, you kind of have to make happen here. I took my kids to like our little tiny town trunk or treat, which we have got to step up. We went to it and I was like, y'all got to be playing music. We got to be having fog machines. Like I'm new to this little town. So next year I'm going to volunteer and I'm going to turn it up. Okay. Like I got to bring some Louisiana to this like Arkansas little town. Okay. Like there wasn't near enough bass bumping and adults drinking alcohol while the kids ran around and played. Like we need to get messy and loud and all that crap. But in the country, Halloween's a little different. So we're probably going to like carve pumpkins and do that. And then we'll probably watch some appropriate scary movies because like the young ones are too young. So we'll probably watch like a little Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion. I love that movie. I know it bombed, but like I thought it was great. We'll probably watch that and eat candy, you know, do what we can. Maybe go and have a bonfire and wear cloaks and hold our hands up and scare my neighbors. Who knows? Disclaimer and trigger warning. I've never done a trigger warning on all of these because I just feel like it's kind of, they're written from a time, so they're never too bad. But this one, I do want to give a trigger warning. There is a lot of talk about slavery. So obviously that's an extremely dark topic. I do my best to tell it like it is, but also be mindful of who's listening because that is an extremely dark topic. But honestly, the way it's written in this story is very accurate and true. I think we romanticize pirates and pirate lore so much without realizing and remembering they were human traffickers sometimes. And that's the case in this story. So there will be discussion of slavery quarters, chains, all of that stuff. Okay. Disclaimer. I'm not a professional reader. I'm not a professional voice actress. We like to have fun here. So when I do voices, do know I'm aware I'm not good at it. Okay. No, audiobook, whatever. Audible's not hiring me. Okay. I wish they would, but Audible's not hiring me anytime soon. I'm not going to be on your kids' cartoons anytime soon. This is my channel. I do understand that sometimes my accents can be terrible. That's why I try not to read entire paragraphs in that voice. But I like to have fun. It's fun. So do know I'm aware I'm not a professional. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's get into our last scary novel of the season. We'll have to do these again. We'll have to do spooky novels. I want to do some sci-fi novels, from the 1960s and 70s. I would love to do some medieval themed novels. Like, we got to branch out into all of this area. We got to do historical romances, scary, sci-fi, medieval, westerns. Maybe we'll do a western. Also, real quick, I do, for the people who listen and can't see, I do put up occasionally a virtual tip jar. If you watch this channel, you've kind of seen my struggle with YouTube of actually making money off of this channel, because they run ads, but they won't give me money because of copyright issues. Either way, don't worry about it. I'm fine. I just use the money to pay for the Adobe subscription to edit these videos, and also the other subscriptions. I would love to have enough to pay for a separate Spotify account so I could make this into a podcast format. I do put up a virtual tip jar just to help out with those funds and those expenses. I will put the links below to my Venmo and my PayPal if you want to throw $1 or $2 at me if I do a good job. Don't feel like you have to. Again, I just put it there because some people, that's their love language. And hey, my love language is receiving it, okay? Mine is receiving gifts, okay? If yours is giving gifts, believe me, we will get along. But anyways, so I do put up a virtual tip jar throughout some of this video. I will put links below if you want to do that. Don't feel like you have to, okay? Let's have some fun and get into now Granite Folly by Caroline Farr.
Time to go. Did we get everything?
The shorts!
In there? Okay, I'll check. I found the shorts.
I'm feeling a little off today. I think because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night and I had a weird breakfast. And so if this is not one of my better videos, I apologize. I'm going to do the best I can. But just know I'm aware that I'm a little off. I feel like I'm kind of rambling. But let's open our story. Okay. Granite Folly, Caroline Farr. Okay. We begin with a Gail Walton. Okay. She is going to be pulling up at a real estate office of Raymond Cottrell. She is from New York City. Ew. She goes round and round with a receptionist, and so much. The horror in this novel, let me just go ahead and warn y'all, and I won't get into it because it bored me to tears, is real estate. This book, if you love real estate, this is your horror novel because it's so much real estate. Discussions, worries, terms. Like if you love real estate and you want to read something scary, ooh, this will get you. But anyway, she goes round and round with this little receptionist about Granite Folly. She has inherited it. Don't we wish we all could inherit a whole ass spooky castle fortress in southern Canada? Ding, ding, ding. This takes place in southern Canada. Raymond Cottrell, her real estate agent, is already there. They talk about, because Gail's just like a New York girl. And so she's going to be like, well, I'll just go up there. I'll just go up there and meet him. Because I need to see this place. I need to see what the fuss is about. And the receptionist is like, no, because there's timber wolves in Canada. And apparently there's a lot of timber wolves at this estate. Okay. It is so much exposition. And now that I've read the book, it's absolute garbage. All of this could have not been written at all. But I'll spare y'all. That's why I do a recap, because I'm sparing y'all from all that crap. She stays in a cute B&B outside of Granite Folly. Now, Granite Folly is by itself in the middle of nowhere, next to the sea, next to swamps, next to wolves, like wolves in the forest. The road to get there only fits like one car at a time. It's a place that's not super welcoming at all. So she goes to stay at a cute she stays at a cute B&B. And there she meets a man named Adrian Hammond. And he is blonde with brown eyes. And I thought that was kind of rare. You never see a lot of brown-eyed blondes in novels. It's always blondes with blue eyes. Some Aryan obsession. Ugh. He is an architect. Why is architect, like, how many architects do y'all know? I know one. And he don't do it anymore because it's a very hard profession. But in the pre-90s, architecture, everybody was an architect. Everybody was an architect. Everybody's an architect in the Lifetime movies, in the Hallmark movies, in the scary movies. Everybody's an architect. I asked my husband, I said, how many architects do you know? He's in the construction business. And he's like, none. Like, it's not a common enough job to warrant everybody in the movies being an architect. Anyways, he's an architect. Adrian is on top of being an architect, he is a history nerd, which we all are. We all have our little Roman empires, but he is a huge history nerd, and he just gabs on and on and on about Granite Folly to Gale without understanding that she's inherited it. So Adrian is on assignment from the Canadian government to obtain Granite Folly so they can use it for a tourist attraction. To which, when we learn more about Granite Folly, I just don't know how many school field trips are going to be going there. Because one, the road sucks. Again, one lane. It's next to a cliff of like the ocean's right there. There's wolves. Like, just doesn't seem like a lot of people would go there. But anyways, he points out Captain Folly, the pirate who made Granite Folly, made a lot of his money doing human trafficking. He was not doing slave, but like he was in the business of slavery. He also ran arms to America during the Revolutionary War, which Adrian don't like because he's Canadian, and he was like, they were fighting against the British Empire and he was helping them, so he's a traitor. And I was like, weird. You just never hear like that side of it from the other side. He thinks that it should be restored for its unique architecture because Captain Folly used a lot of different time periods and kind of made this hodgepodge of a castle that's like a little bit medieval, a little bit Russian, a little bit European, a little bit Middle Eastern. Like, it's this weird hodgepodge, one of a kind castle, and him and the Canadian government want to own it so they can tourist it. He explains all of this while saying the woman who owns it is some spoiled little heiress from New York City, and she probably won't even let me buy it, but I'm just, you gotta swing high. So I'm gonna go. And he's kind of shit talking the girl that he thinks that owns it. And the whole time Gail's just like, really? Oh yeah. Yeah, I bet she is. I bet she is a spoiled little heiress. Gail asks him over breakfast, hey, you know a lot about Granite Folly. Do you mind coming up with me there and like telling me all about it and showing me all of this stuff? I'd love to learn more about it. And he's like, but why? Because I'm the heiress. I'm the spoiled heiress. And so, of course, he's like, shit. Oh, foot in the mouth situation for him. Foot in the mouth. Luckily for him, he's hot. So Gail's just thinking like it's cute. But we've all had that time where we're like shit talking something and then the person's like that person or linked to that person. It's happened to me and I still think about it at night. They are driving to Granite Folly, again, extremely dangerous road. And Adrian is mentioning that because Captain Folly was a pirate, he obviously has treasure hidden somewhere. Must have treasure. So he wants to go find treasure. As they're driving, a wolf leaps out in front of the car, which is wild. They're driving on this windy road and she's nervous because like she has this old fucking 1960s Camaro with probably no power steering. So it's probably taken her every ounce of her little strength to drive this damn car. Meanwhile, he's blabbing on and on and on and on about the history of Granite Folly, just being a fucking nerd. And this wolf jumps out and she's stressed out, you know, and he is like, oh, it was a dog. It's not a wolf. There's no wolves here. And she's like, I don't care what it was. Something jumped in front of the car. I'm trying to drive. Shut the fuck up for like 5 fucking seconds so I can focus. We got wolves jumping out. We got a windy road with like a cliff on the other side. And you won't shut up about treasure hunting. You're a grown man. Stop it. I kind of saw Gail as Fran Fine, like Fran Drescher's era. Like that's how I pictured her. And then I pictured Adrian Hammond as like a Rick Moranis Canadian nerd. Because he's like just adorkable. He's adorkable in this novel. So let's picture that. Yeah. If Fran Drescher and Rick Moranis made a made-for-TV 90s movie about a haunted castle, wouldn't that have been an amazing movie? So let's pretend that's that. They show up. Gail's super bummed because Granite Folly looks like a prison. She thinks she's getting this cute seaside castle. She pulls up. She's like, oh my God, it looks like fucking Alcatraz. It looks like Azkaban off of like Harry Potter. There's a giant mausoleum for Captain Folly. And it's so big because Captain Folly was so adamant that his descendants, Gail is one of them. Gail is one of his descendants. Be buried in the mausoleum. Like he made it huge because he was like, oh my God, all my people are going to want to be buried with me. I'm going to be so important in history that everybody's going to want to be buried here. And it's literally just him in there. So we meet a older Sicilian man named Dominique Pareto, and he's kind of the groundskeeper, him and his wife. They lease out. Okay, this is the most real estate complicated book I've ever read, but I'm going to try and make it easy for y'all to understand and keep the plot rolling. So the Paretos, they are kind of the groundskeeper. They lease out the bottom half, floor, whatever, of Granite Folly to guests. Keep in mind, this place is hard to get to, so you're kind of like, who the fuck is staying there? We'll get to that. And he is adamant that Gail is not Gail. He thinks that Adrian, because he knows Adrian, because Adrian comes up there all the time wanting to poke around. And he's just like, no, you're not Gail. You're just some girl he hired. And I love this detail that she's like, she goes to her Camaro and gets a crocodile skin folder that has all of her IDs and papers in it. And, you know, she just probably has like long nails and she gets her little crocodile skin folder and she's wearing her heels because she's a New York girl from the 60s. And she just like hands him this bougie ass, like just the energy that she's probably giving. I'm just like, yeah, I'm Gail. Let me in my house. We meet Mrs. Pareto and she brings bread and coffee. And again, knowing this was written by a man, I'm kind of like, because Gail takes this as a time to judge Mrs. Pareto's looks, saying that she has huge arms, huge breasts, and kind of a mustache. And I'm like, well, girl, you just showed up. She didn't know if you would have gave her a heads up, she could have waxed. I mean, hell, if you catch me on a bad day, I look like the lifeguard from Stranger Things, okay? Now, the Paretos and 2 maids live upstairs, and the guests live on the bottom half. And Gail's kind of like, I didn't know people even like were here, you know, but her agent, I don't know how it worked out. Again, it's a lot of real estate crap. It's not super important. Don't worry about those details. They don't mean shit. A man named Tom Felton wants to buy the castle really bad, and he's offering a shit ton of money. So it's kind of him versus Adrian, who represents the Canadian government, and to get Granite Folly from Gail. So the whole story is her picking, does she go with the highest bidder, Tom Felton, or does she go with the hot guy, Adrian? So they get there, they have their coffee and bread, my favorite meal, girl dinner. They go spelunking upstairs. You know, Rick Moranis and Fran Fine. They're going upstairs with their giant 1950s flashlights, you know, those huge heavy ones. But God, did they last forever. If you have one, its battery's probably never been changed since like the Reagan administration. So they probably have their huge ass flashlights and they're upstairs poking around. There are two maids. Caroline Farr, from what we've gathered, loves having two French maids. This man loved having a two French maid situation. But these French maids are named Anna and Vivienne. Anna comes up, interrupts their spelunking, and she's like, hey, we're about to have a lunch. Do you want to have it up here or downstairs? And she's like, and Anna says, I'll bring it up here. You know, since you're up here, I'll just bring lunch up here. No big deal. And Gail takes it as offense of like, no, I'm going to come downstairs and eat with everybody else. This is my fucking house. Don't like keep me sequestered upstairs. Again, very New York girl. Just like, well, why can't I come eat with everybody else? Why do you want me to eat up here by myself with this fucking nerd who won't shut up about treasure? And as she's bitching Anna out about this, she notices Anna and Adrian kind of checking each other out. And then she immediately is like, I'll eat it up here with Adrian. That'll be fine. Like, she's already territorial about Adrian. Back to Rick Moranis and Fran Fine in a haunted castle. They open they're going through the rooms and it's all dusty, crusty, all that, you know, good Scooby-Doo vibes. And they open a roof door. And she pokes her little beehive head through there. And she looks out to sea. And she sees in the sea a modern white yacht. And it has a dog on it. Like a live dog, not like a dog statue. But she notices there's like a dog on a white yacht in her wharf. Is that the term? Is that what we're saying? They're wharfs? I don't know. And she just takes note of that as she pokes her little teased hair through that roof door. She's just like, huh. They go have lunch. And Gail needs to go find Cottrell, her real estate agent, who is supposed to be helping her decide who is the best bidder in this situation. But I love this because it was before cell phones. So he could just like be anywhere on the estate. And she just, has to go find him physically? What a time. Remember that where you were just like in a mall or a store and you couldn't find your mom or something. So you just had to either wait until they found you or risk walking around the entire mall, checking all of the stores to find your mom. As she is trying to find Cottrell, she meets the other maid, Vivian. And now Vivian is like, no. So Anna was makeup, very girly, very cutesy. Vivian is the expressionless, no makeup, no nonsense type. If you ever watched the show Daria, you know, she's the Daria to Anna's Quinn Morgendorfer. Those kind of sister vibes. She goes downstairs to head to the beach because she's like, I gotta find this Mr. Cottrell. So I guess I will go walk the beach of a place I don't know to go find him. And as she's walking out, she kind of notices the guests that are kept at Granite Folly. And they are all just really shady looking individuals. They're not like people on vacation. They're not families. They're just like really scary men. And one man in particular is a man in his 30s. He's super ripped, but she has to point out that he's in a wheelchair and he's just glaring at her. So that man's important, kind of. And here we kind of get into, she's exploring the outside area. Throughout the novel, they discuss a lot of slavery history that Granite Folly has. Again, I will say it sucks to kind of read about. However, we need to be reminded that pirates were not this super romanticized individuals Disney wants to make them out to be. They were literally criminals, and they still exist today. They're just, you know, not wearing like a big fancy feather hat. But they were human traffickers. They were drug lords. They were smugglers. All that good stuff. So it is a very accurate representation of a pirate in the sense that probably did have a lot of human trafficking in his castle. Now she is noticing a lot of the areas in the seaside caves because it was illegal when he was doing it at the time in Canada, I think. And so he would keep them near the caves so that if any authorities came, he would then just chunk them out into the ocean. Anyways, she is noticing all of these remnants of that time, chains, iron bars cages, lots of super uber scary things, and things that I'm sure she is taking note of that she inherited from her ancestor. I will give her credit for a little New York girl. She is snooping in places I sure wouldn't. She is being quite the little Nancy Drew. She's noticing footprints in the cave. She is noticing there are wet ropes so that they have been used recently. And she remembers that yacht that she saw out on the rooftop. And as she is walking the beach, she remembers this thing that Adrian was saying, that there is a lot of rutile around the area, which is something you can mine. And she was not aware her property had rutile or mining rights, because Adrian was like, well, if the Canadian government buys it from you, you will still retain the mining rights. And she's like, what mining rights? And as she's walking the beach, she's wondering exactly how much rutile is like, here, because you can make a shit ton of money. But then she's also wondering if like she even wants to bother with it, because she's an heiress. So it's not like she necessarily needs the money. But she's looking around for Cottrell, and she keeps thinking of this Felton character that really wants to buy Granite Folly, but won't tell her why. He just wants to pay her an exorbitant amount of money, but won't tell her why he wants this old ass, scary, dark history castle. She thinks that white yacht is Felton. And Cottrell told her Felton wasn't supposed to show up for a few days. So she thinks that Felton and Cottrell are trying to like think that she's some dumb little bitch and try to take advantage of her. And now that Adrian told her about these mining rights and like all of this history on her property, she's just like, I think they're trying to fucking like fuck me over on this deal. Quote, it explained everything. Felton had crossed to Granite Folly. Cottrell had come down here to meet him and had returned to the island with Felton to plan his purchase. I had no doubt whose side Ray Cottrell was on, and it wasn't mine. He had acted as my agent for a long time for a small enough return, and he could expect even less from the estate if Adrian's people bought it. But somewhere in Felton's plans for Granite Folly, there must be something of infinite value to Mr. Cottrell. Rutile, perhaps? I couldn't think of anything else. So right now, she's walking around and she's just like, those motherfuckers are trying to fuck me over. They think I'm some dumb little heiress who don't understand fucking real estate. And to be honest, we kind of don't, but we do understand money. Thank God for this dork. She yells into the cave, Mr. Cottrell, are you in there? And she hears moaning and immediately books it. Not the response she wanted to have. As she books it, she's running down the beach trying to get back to the castle. She runs into a Doberman, a whole ass giant Doberman pinscher. And she's like, what the fuck? The Doberman won't let her kind of cross around. Like you can't like walk around it, because it's kind of bare in its teeth. And she's just frozen. And it walks back to the cave. And she's like, well, shit, I can't go back to the cave. She notices the tide is rising very quickly. And in this area are things called tidal bores. I won't get into tidal bores and the geographical science of them. They're just very dangerous, huge swells of seawater. And it's just like a little mini tsunami, kind of very dangerous. She is noticing 1, there's a Doberman pinscher roaming her island. 2, the tide is rising. And that means these tidal bores are about to start swelling up in all of these little pockets of this island. How's she gonna get back? And do know she's probably in a fucking heel this whole time, or a flat. It was the 1960s. She was not wearing a comfortable shoe, and we know that. So her heels are probably falling left and right in that sand, or slip sliding, like I said, in a flat. It's probably a nightmare. She's scrambling trying to get back to the castle, but 1, she's kind of like lost. 2, Doberman's roaming. 3, tidal bores. And here we have this quote. She tries, before I quote, she's trying to get to this other seaside cave so she can wait out the tides and the tidal bores in safety. But to do that, she has to swim out to sea. So I turned, ran down to the water's edge, and plunged in. The water was so cold it took my breath away, but I waded on. Through my panic, I seemed to remember a hollow place not far from the platform. A wave washed over me and I found myself waist deep in the water. I could feel the heavy pull of the sea lifting me off my feet. I felt a wave hit me, driving my head hard against a rock. Fireworks exploded behind my eyes in blinding red flashes. I felt myself being swept sideways, and feebly I tried to fight against it. The rough stone grazed my legs and arms. Then I was being pulled ruthlessly out into deeper water. I opened my mouth for air, emerging momentarily from the red haze. Then suddenly, my mouth was full of water. I wanted to vomit. Up above, I could see a gray sky. Torrential rain was beating down now, lashing the water against me, stinging my face and shoulders. I felt myself start to sink. I felt myself going down, down. That is super fucking scary. I don't know if you've ever been out in like open ocean and like, you know how waves come in sets of like, what is it, 7 or 8? And you've been stuck getting just smash after those sets of waves. It's a very scary experience. It's happened to me like once. Not super fun. I was trying to surf, y'all. I was in my surfing era and my dumb ass got stuck underwater and I couldn't get my head up. Luckily, I'm a very good swimmer, so I just hung out underwater for a minute. But it's very scary, especially if you were in probably that 1960s dress and like fucking heels and the water is cold. And I love how every time there's like some kind of scary water thing, we got to add rain. Let's get the rain going, you know? Let's just get King Neptune just laughing at me. A man in his underpants saves her. It's Adrian. And he gives her really bad CPR. Very much that moment of he's like pulls her up onto the shore. And he was smart in removing his clothes except his underpants. And he's trying to give her CPR, but she's not drowned. And she's just like, are you trying to kiss me? You know, Fran Fine, like, get off of me. And he's like, oh, I thought you were drowning. They exchange info of the caves, the dog she saw, and how he saw her. He was looking for her. He went on the roof of the castle, saw her ass nearly drown, and I don't know how he got down there in time. I'm sure it explains in the book, but whatever. He gets down there, saves her. He doesn't necessarily, again, believe the dog thing because he's like, what, you saw a wolf when we were driving here and now you said it wasn't a dog. And now you're saying it's a dog, not a wolf. He's like, what the hell's on this island, Gail? Wolves are dogs. And she's like, I don't fucking know. It's all scary. Okay, so they get back to the castle. They're trying to like get dry and all that good stuff. And y'all take a drink. A glass of milk's going to show up. Here we go. He kicked the side door and cursed when one of his unlaced shoes flew off. Nothing is very clear after that, although I do have some vague impressions of a steaming bath and someone forcing me to drink rum and hot milk before I sank into the warmth of a bed someplace and drifted slowly into wary oblivion. Rum and hot milk. That is a room temperature White Russian. Oh, fuck. I wish I knew how to make merch and what would our merch be? It has to be milk related. What would it be? I want to make a keychain of like a little milk bottle that's like HOTTOGO. No, but we need to make hot milk merch for sure because it's going to be in every book, I think. It's one of those things of now that we've noticed it, it's going to be in every book. Everywhere is going to be hot milk and rum. Just give me the rum. Why are you going to give me milk with it? Just give me the rum. Just give me the rum. But yeah, room temperature White Russian after you've been ransackled out in a tsunami. Oh, what a nightmare. She wakes up in Vivian's room. Adrian, his little adorable self, stayed outside in a chair all night in case she woke up disoriented and got scared. And that's so sweet and kind of him. She borrows some of Vivian's clothes, and they're very sensible and fashionable. But poor Adrian has to borrow clothes from some of the men downstairs. And remember, they're kind of interesting characters. He wore a bright red shirt and a blue open neck sweater. His trousers were wide and baggy, and with a grin, he lifted the sweater to show me great folds in the fawn pants tucked beneath the belt. Scuffed plaid slippers over thick green woolen socks completed the ensemble. That sounds like a Gumby outfit of like bright red shirt, blue open neck sweater, tan pants, plaid slippers, green socks. He looks like a Sesame Street character. And I love that he pointed out, this is such the time, but I understand it. He's so mad because her clothes are pressed. He's like, you got your clothes pressed, but no one would press mine. And I'm like, remember when people cared about wrinkles? I wish they did. I wish they did. It is one of my pet peeves is when people walk around in wrinkled clothes. Y'all, we have the technology. We have steamers. We have Downy wrinkle release that you can spray on your garment, throw it in the dryer for 10 minutes while you're doing your hair, and it comes out wrinkle free. We also have dry cleaners. Okay, I know everybody is homecoming season and some of y'all got kids going to homecoming dances. Please take that suit and that dress to the damn dry cleaners and get it pressed. Please press your clothes. It takes so little time and it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. And I just kind of love in this novel, he's so upset that he couldn't press his Sesame Street clothes. Like he's just like, oh my God, I have to walk around with wrinkled clothes. Can you imagine who might see me in this haunted castle with wrinkles? Meanwhile, have you been in public in 2024? People don't even get out of their pajamas. We got to do better, y'all. I'm not sitting here saying you need to wear a 3-piece suit when you go to the supermarket, but like not pajamas would be a step up. Adrian has a moment of he discusses the slave quarters that he found while he was spelunking, while he was on his way to like go save her and stuff. I don't know. He was doing his own investigation and he discovered secret slave quarters that Captain Folly used again to illegally, I don't know, it's all illegal, but like, you know what I mean, of he was illegally human trafficking again to America, these people. And he found a lot of hidden door kind of situations. And he says this to say that the blueprint of Granite Folly, there's probably a ton of secret passageways that we don't even know about because of all of his illegal smuggling and drugs and all of that stuff. So he's like, I'm sure this castle has even more rooms than we even know. He's like, we don't even know what the castle could link to caves that we don't even know. He's like, this castle, because a pirate ran it, and again, it's an accurate representation of a pirate because he was doing shady shit, illegal shit. He's like, it would take so much to find out all of the secrets. There's one, so more real estate talk, yawn. But Adrian says, we have to repair this castle. And Gail's just like, well, how much would that cost? And he's like, oh my God, it would cost y'all $4,000. Oh, is that in the budget? Do you think the Canadian government can spare $4,000? That's a lot. Meanwhile, Gail is like, what the fuck? Cottrell quoted, what'd she say? Over $40,000 to repair it. And he's like, ooh, no, girl, like they trying to take advantage of you. I'm glad you came because it's not going to take 40 grand to fix up everything. We're kind of having an Encanto situation where there are secret passages behind walls. We don't talk about Bruno. He's kind of like, people are walking through the walls. And Adrian and Gail find one in Vivian's room that she is staying in. And of course, as they find it, Adrian, being a confident straight white man, just goes in it. He's just like, wow, a secret passageway. Let me dive in. He goes in and we have this exchange so you can kind of get the vibe of their, again, Rick Moranis, Fran Drescher relationship.
Adrian, can you hear me?
No sound came from within. No sound at all.
Adrian, are you all right?
Nothing.
Are you hurt? Adrian, answer me.
Fourth knob down to the right. Was that what he said? Pull it out, turn it clockwise. I seized the knob, dragged it desperately. Nothing happened. No, not the fourth, the third down from the right. Yes, that was it. I gripped it quickly, using all my weight and strength. It began to move slowly, reluctantly. It came out a few inches and then stuck fast. I stopped. Now what? Of course, turned it clockwise. That was what he had done, wasn't it? I wrenched the wretched thing about to the right, all my weight upon it, and staggered backward. The knob came away in my hand. My knees buckled against the bed, and I fell back with the knob and a foot length of hardwood axle in my hand. Suddenly, from the passage, I heard a faint cry and the sound of a heavy blow. I sprang off the bed and ran back to the heavy fireplace.
Adrian!
I could hear him now through the hole I'd made in the panel. I saw the gleam from his flashlight.
Adrian, are you hurt?
I called anxiously. Missed a crushed foot by inches, he said. What on earth did you do out there?
I did what you said, of course. I pulled the knob out, turned it clockwise, and
I said counterclockwise.
Then why didn't you answer me and tell me what to do?
I demanded angrily, close to tears. The damn door happens to be completely soundproof. That's why. I couldn't hear you until you pulled the whole thing out by the roots and let a 300-pound stone almost drop on my head.
You just said your foot.
Both. I felt it pass my face as I jumped back.
I'm sorry. I was trying to help you. I thought something happened to you.
Oh, Adrian, stop fooling and come back inside. I'm frightened. I can't. This door isn't going to open from either side, not until the stone is lifted and put back into place. I'd say it'd take about 6 men to put it back up.
Oh, suppose I put this little thingy back in and turn it again.
Without the stone up there, it's useless, he said. Don't worry. I'll get out and come back and let you know I'm okay. At least nobody else can get in your room tonight, and there must be other panels like this. The passage must pass through the walls between those first 2 rooms we worked in.
I'll go in there with the flashlight then, and I'll let you out. I'll find the right knob and turn it counterclockwise. Isn't that it, Adrian?
Now wait a second, Gail. Wait. Gail, are you still there? Of course, I just said, I know what you said. Now listen, I can get out much easier alone, the same way I would have got back out through here if you hadn't, helped me. Right?
Very well, if you want to be independent.
I do, he said firmly, and I want you to go back to bed. If Anna or anyone else comes, pretend to be asleep. You haven't seen me, right?
Yes, but...
Right? Right. I'm perfectly okay. I'll get out. Now put the handle back in the hole, push it hard, and flush it with the others if you can. I'm in a mess. All cobwebs and dust. I'm going to have to clean up before anyone... And then Anna shows up, so they have to stop talking. Anna is bringing her clothes, and they're freshly pressed. How nice. So Adrian can't get out as they found like that secret hidey hole. He went in it. Of course he did. And it closed on him. And then she's trying to bumble and get out. And then she fucks it up even more. And apparently there's a giant stone that has to fall down for it to open. I don't know the mechanics. I'm not a haunted house architect, apparently, like Adrian is. But he thinks that he can find his way out. And sure. So as Anna shows up to give Adrian her freshly pressed, laundered clothes, she discusses Mr. Raymond. And that is the big, burly man in his 30s in the wheelchair that looks super pissed. And she says that he will drag his body upstairs and chase her and Vivian. And that's wild. That's terrifying. It's terrifying to be chased by a man, much less one who is paralyzed dragging himself. Like, that just sounds so awful from so many different angles. After Anna leaves, Gail gets a fire poker. And again, I just can't help but like picture this little New York socialite with a fire poker. And she's walking around the castle, talking into the walls, trying to find where Adrian is. So again, imagine like a little Fran Drescher holding a fire poker, going through the Scooby-Doo haunted house, whispering into the walls like,
Adrian, are you in there? Are you in there?
She looks down the staircase and she sees Raymond glaring at her. Apparently that's his like resting face, is to glare, but he is just fuming glaring at her. But he can't go up the stairs. So he just goes to the next room. But it's just a weird like interaction that they have. She goes back to her room. She fucks with the panel again, pulling out knobs, trying to figure out how to open it. She does. She finds not Adrian, but his big giant flashlight. Not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. She calls for Adrian. She hears footsteps, thinks, okay, maybe his flashlight broke and he just poked around on foot. And she's like, oh, thank goodness, Adrian, it's you. I was so, not Adrian, it's a fucking Doberman. And so she's trying to close this panel. This dog is barking, got half of its body in her room, growling, biting at her. She's trying to panic close this fucking hidden panel door in her room. A Doberman's snarling at her. However, when she pulls the lever and that stone starts to make the sound like it's about to fall, the dog immediately recognizes the sound and backs off. So the dog knows how the door works. So we're having this slapstick moment, but scary nonetheless, if you will, of this Doberman trying to break through this secret wall in a room in a castle she's never been in. She's panicking. She don't know where Adrian still is. We don't know where the hell his goofy doofy self just ran off to. She closes the door just in time for one of those maids to show up, and they're just like, oh, it's Vivian. Yeah, it's Vivian. Vivian shows up and she says, are you looking for Adrian? And Gail's obviously a little exasperated. And she's just like, yeah, have you seen him? And Vivian says, oh, he's downstairs eating supper. And Gail is pissed, obviously, because she's like, why didn't he come tell me he was safe? Why would he? What the fuck? I nearly just got my gorgeous face mauled by a Doberman. Later on, she finally finds Mr. Cottrell. Shows up. Gail's just been like, where the fuck have you been? Were you just walking around this island? What the hell? There's only, I know this is a castle and you're like, oh, they could have gotten lost. There's only so much of this castle you can like walk around and not run into just, it's dilapidated. Where can you go? She asks Cottrell, why does this Felton guy want this estate so bad? And he plays the idiot of just like, I don't know, but he's offering a lot of money. So you, a young lady such as yourself, don't worry about the paperwork. Don't worry about all these big hard words. I will handle it. I will represent you. Don't worry about it. Just take the biggest offer. She points out, does he breed Dobermans? Because I've ran into two. Cottrell is like, yes, he does. How did you know that? Gail says, obviously, she doesn't tell him about the secret passageway Doberman, but she's like, ran into one trying to find your ass. Okay. I don't want Dobermans walking around my property, especially if they are dangerous. Absolutely. I agree with Gail. I'd be the same way. I'd be like, get the fucking dogs off my island. He doesn't believe her that she saw one on the beach. Long story short, Cottrell and Gail argue over this real estate crap back and forth because he's like, you little lady just need to worry about money because, I mean, he's the agent, so he gets a big cut if she takes a bigger offer. And he's like, you just need to take that one. Take Felton. She's like, why does he want it so bad? He's like, I don't know. Who cares? Money talks. Who the fuck cares what he does with it? And then she points out Adrian and the Canadian government would like to have it to restore it for historical purposes. Blah, 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 blah. Real estate crap. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm kind of a don't show all your cards, but I understand the move she had to make. She brings up the Rutile rights, those land rights. And all of a sudden, Cottrell's just like, oh, you don't need to worry about those. Those are too hard for your little girly head. And who told you about those rights? And he makes it sound like, oh, there might be a few. I don't know what a rutile is, to be honest. What is that? But anyways, he's like, oh, there might be one or two rutiles around or in the sand. I don't know. But he's like, don't worry about it. It's not enough to like worry about. And she says, I think it is. I think this Felton character is trying to like screw me over with mining rights. And again, Cottrell's just like, who cares what he does? Take the money, take the money. Meanwhile, they're having coffee. They're having a coffee talk during this. And she notices she drank half of her coffee and Cottrell didn't drink any of his. And that's just like important later. She drinks a coffee and goes to sleep after this stupid real estate argument. Again, this book is right. It's not that big. Look how big this book is. It's not that big. And like majority of it is real estate talk. I'm really zhuzhing it up the best I can. So here we have this quote. I fell asleep and I dreamed. Voices were... I feel like I should be doing this in the voice I gave her of that New York accent, but I feel like that would be painful for y'all to hear me say a whole paragraph in that tone. So I won't. So I understand why I'm switching back and forth between my speaking voice and my character voice. Anyways, I fell asleep and I dreamed. Voices were discussing me. A man's voice and a woman's. Not strangers, but I could not be sure where I'd heard them before. I had slipped down sideways into a chair. My head, pillowed on one arm against the hard wooden armrest, seemed filled with cotton. My mouth was parched. I was neither fully awake nor conscious at the time, but my dream continued and those unpleasant voices continued to discuss me. She looks very awkward lying like that, the man's voice protested. The discomfort might wake her. I doubt that, the woman answered. She should sleep until 10 tomorrow. After that, what does it matter? Why don't we put her on the bed, make her comfortable? Then there'd be no risk of her moving out of here. And if she stirs, she'd start wondering how she got to bed. She went to sleep in the chair, and she's not a fool. Far from it. I guess you're right. Leave her where she is. That way, we give her nothing to worry about tomorrow. Nothing. You know how I feel about violence. If you'd done your job better, there wouldn't be need for any. Now you blame me? Rutile, the girl's voice muttered disgustingly. Rutile of all things. So somebody drugged her coffee. And you think it's Cottrell, but like he didn't make the coffee. And so you're like, who made the coffee? Was it Anna or Vivian? One of them maids makes the coffee. So dear Gail finally kind of like, I guess she gets into bed finally. I don't know. She's still very drugged out. And here we have this moment. She hears her door opening and not a figure walks in, but it's also not a dog. Because she's like, it's either a dog or a person trying to kill me. It's not a dog, but it's not like a man. A rectangular moving shadow was creeping stealthily into the room. Who was it? What was it? The hairs on the back of my neck prickled and I trembled all over my body. The door had opened wide, yet nobody entered. I thought of the dog, yet dogs couldn't open doors, no matter how well trained they were. It had to be either a man or a woman. Then my eyes widened in horror. A huge, misshapen figure was entering my room. It could not be human. It filled the doorway from side to side, yet it reached no higher than the handle and the lock. Again, I thought of the Dobermans, but no dog I had ever seen possessed that bulk. It moved oddly, jerkily, making a shuffling, dragging sound as it came in, moving toward the bed. I could hear it breathing, a fierce, excited panting. It seemed to be muttering to itself, and once it even whined. An animal would have scented me and sensed my frozen terror. I could not have run away, so great was my horror. I saw it clearly in silhouette then, this misshapen creature rearing itself up beside my bed. I could make out the bearded human head, the wide shoulders and great muscular torso, and thick hairy arms reaching toward where the creature thought I lay. I recognized him now. It was Raymond, the grotesque, and this word says it in the book, cripple with the huge body and frail legs. He was reaching for me with huge hands. Okay. Not only is it terrifying for someone to be in your room at night, but a huge lumbering man dragging his body, that's extremely concerning. That is a Tyler Perry movie for one, but It is also extremely like, wow. But I can't help, again, the Blanche Devereaux in me, the way they described him. I was like, he sounds kind of hot. He's in his 30s. He has a big beard and big, huge arms. And he's like hairy. And his frame like fills the door frame. Like, I'm like, I'll sit in his lap. We'll wheel around this mansion. I don't give a shit. Sign me up. But that being said, it does sound very terrifying in many ways of someone crawling to your bed in the middle of the night. Obviously, she freaks out. She jumps on the bed, runs over his ass, and bolts out of the house. She gets to her car, and of course, y'all, it wouldn't be a horror movie without this happening. She ain't got the keys. How about this? Anytime y'all go exploring somewhere with your car, keep your keys on you at all times. If you're on a date with somebody and you go in their house, keep your keys on your person. Don't put them on the counter. Don't put them on the table. Keep your keys on you at all times. When she looks up at the castle, she can see Raymond, the man in the wheelchair, like looking at her, glaring at her through her window, like her bedroom window. She's like, okay, I can't go back in the house. I can't get in my car. What's the next best option, y'all? Let's go inside the mausoleum. She creeps into her ancestor's tomb because that's where you go. That's plan B. Not the woods, not just hang out by your car, not literally anything else. She finds a big crate that says cashew nuts, product of California. That's weird. She also finds an open casket with, hello, dear old great uncle, grandfather, Folly. So she's in this tomb with a box of cashew nuts and an open casket with her ancestor there. She sees a man at the opening of the tomb and, of course, a Doberman. And we hear the word, hold, demon. And of course, because this is ye old 1960s, she blacks out. How convenient. All these poor heroines just black out. They're like, again, they're just like these fainting goats. You just go like, boo. And they're like, oh God. She wakes up locked inside the tomb with the growling dog. And so she's kind of like, fuck. Probably shouldn't have blacked out. She's like, okay, keep in mind, she's in this mausoleum tomb cave thing. Like, it's just dark and there's shelves. There's an open casket with a skeleton in it. There's a box of cashew nuts and a dog growling at her and like one oil lamp. So she has no weapons. And so she's trying to feel around to see if any of these secret passages will work for her. In the meantime, she's like, the only thing I have against this dog is this oil lamp. So it's kind of like, are you going to be lit when you get attacked by a dog? Or do you want to have a fighting chance fighting in the dark with a Doberman with a lamp, like an oil lamp? I'll take my chances. I'm going to bust that oil lamp. Now, as she reaches for the lamp, dramatic, holds it up, about to crash it so she can fight this dog in pitch black darkness. A man shows up with 2 more dogs, and we learn it is dear mysterious Tom Felton. It's the guy who wants to buy the island in the first place. And yes, he does breed Dobermans. There's a million of them, apparently. He's got 3 right here. Gives her the typical monologue of like, you stupid bitch, you should have kept your mouth shut. You could have kept your nose clean, just stayed in New York, sold me this property. None of this would have happened. But here you are, snooping, pooping around. I gotta hold you hostage, girl. You can't leave. She, of course, for once in these novels, she has friends that will check in on her. Because so many of these novels, it's like, do y'all not have friends that like talk to y'all every day? Like, if you go missing, do you not have someone that would notice after a while? She brings up that. She's like, my friends, my lawyers, like, I'm a busy socialite. People will know I'm missing. And people will know. She's like, where's Adrian? And he alludes that Adrian is also in his possession. He has Adrian as well. Adrian never went to dinner, apparently. And then we click, hello, Vivian lied about Adrian going to dinner. So is Vivian in on it, or did she mistake thinking that Adrian was at dinner? I don't know. Adrian never went to dinner. He has been locked up in somewhere in this castle for like a day. She's probably going to join him at this point. She's like, shit, where's Adrian? And she's like, look, people are going to look for us. Adrian works for the Canadian government. People will look for him. To which Tom Felton says, girl, he works for the government. They get together like what, once a month to check in on what he's doing. It'll be weeks before anybody notices his ass is gone. Of which I wish I had a job that managed once a month and just checked in and said, Montana, are you doing your job? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm doing it great. And they'd be like, okay, girl, we'll see you next month. I wish. I will say, Felton is the chattiest damn kidnapper. Like, this man, poor Gail, she gets locked up with Adrian's dorky self who won't shut up about like architecture. And now she's like being held hostage by like the world's chattiest kidnapper. And he begins his monologue, and I will spare you most of it, but he begins his monologue talking about his interest in Doberman pinschers. And you're just like, I don't want to die, but I also don't want to like, oh God, and it's kind of like me earlier with talking about snakes. Like, some of us are just very passionate about things that interest us. And I would probably do the same thing if I was a villain, is discuss everything that interests me. Holding someone hostage. So I understand Felton's issue here, but he's talking about his interest in Doberman pinschers and why he trains them and why he has them. And he talks about in World War II, he invaded a Nazi camp or something, and these dogs were trained to guard the prisoners no matter life and death. He was just really impressed with the Doberman pinscher brain, that it would do what it was told so much that it would even it would risk its own life to obey. I don't know. To which I say, fun fact, I grew up with Doberman pinschers. That was my dad's dog growing up. We had 4 in my lifetime. And they're okay. I don't go for them now. Like, I definitely don't vibe with, I don't go with them now because I don't agree with the cropping of the ears. As a little girl that had to clean all of the Doberman's ears that were cropped, and it's dried blood, scabs, they got that big ass cone. They got to wear like a cup on their head, and you got to tape the ears and clean the stitches all the time. It's just really gross and just really stupid because it's all for a look. The tail docking, sometimes I understand because some tails can hurt a dog's back, but more often than not, the ear cropping's just for vanity reasons. I mean, they're just like any other dog, truly. But it definitely kept people out of our house. We would have a lot of solicitors show up, and those dogs would show up at the door, and they'd be like, never mind. So, I mean, they do their job. I will say, if you're interested in a Doberman, they are short-haired dogs, but their hair is like dust. Sometimes Great Danes, Dobermans, Rottweilers, those short-haired dogs, their hair is even harder to clean because it's like dust. And it just, you pet one and your hand comes back black. It's like black on the walls, the couch. It's really hard to clean. So just know that. That was always my mom's grief with it. And see, here I am being Felton, just rambling about Dobermans. This is not part of the story, Montana. Oh my God. Here is Felton's ramblings, if you will. And I would like to disclaimer that my kids are outside playing. I usually try to film these while they are at school, but I've had a rough day today. I can't get my shit together, and so I'm having to hurry up and try to film this and keep them outside, and they are screaming. So just bear with me, okay? Let it add to the ambiance. Pretend it's like ghosts or something in the background. The thing that impressed me, he continued, was that even while we were killing them, the Dobermans hardly looked at us. They saw only the prisoners that they had been ordered to guard. And of course, when we got among them and it was the prisoners they attacked, not us. A strange thing, don't you agree? That was my first contact with Dobermans. So the tough, single-minded might be a better description. So what might have happened to you back there interests me, you know. I can find myself wondering what Demon and Max and Caesar would have done about you if you had been able to lock me in Captain Granite's tomb. Who said I even thought of it? Only you.
all the same, it's interesting, Miss Walton. I think they might have held you for days when they found out I was not following. Unless in darkness, in your terror, you became hysterical and violent. I think even then they would have held you without killing you for as long as they could, until they became famished perhaps, starving, and your struggles maddened them and they tasted blood.
Must you talk this way? I think you're insane.
Oh, everyone is a little, he said. But I assure you I'm saner than most, Miss Walton. At the same time, I apologize. The technical problem interests me, you see. I forgot how you must feel. Terrified, of course, close to hysterical. The whole thing, from your viewpoint, must be most distressing, so I shan't speak of it again. Careful now, the steps are steeper ahead. Then just turn left towards the sea.
So he's essentially like kidnapped, like holding her hostage, walking her deeper into this tomb, into this cave, while just rambling about Dobermans. And I'm just like, this poor girl. She just wanted a castle. She just was going to check it out, see if she could make it a B&B, whatever. And now she's going down deep into this cave of this pirate. And this fucking nerd won't shut up about his dogs. So anyways, more and more, he's discussing all of the passageways in Granite Folly, how her ancestor was a mastermind in creating secret passages and fake walls and fake doors and all kinds of crazy stuff. And he did that because, once again, he was holding slaves captive. And so a lot of it he discusses, and Adrian has discussed this also, where they go into these quarters where the slaves were kept, is they're very if you can imagine, they were very inhumane, not very comfortable, but they do discuss the gravity of just how inhumane those quarters were. So I will respect an author in the 1960s giving the gravity to the honesty of that situation, of not just being like, and this, kids, is where the slaves were kept. It was very like Adrian and Tom Felton are both saying it's absolutely insane that he fit this many people in this many room. There's not enough room to even lay down. They were held here for eons. And if Captain Folly was so much as even looked at by the federal authorities, he would just chunk them out to sea. Again, ugh. She is trying to feign innocence, saying she has no idea what Tom Felton is up to. She truly doesn't. She doesn't really know what he's doing. And she's like, look, I don't understand. I will shut up. Just let me go back to New York. Like, I'm a New York girl. I know how to keep my mouth shut. Okay. Like, do what you need to do. I'll sell you the place. Just let me go. She is begging for her freedom, saying, I don't know shit. Okay. And she truly doesn't. And here we have this exchange. That's the same story you told Cottrell, I'm sure. You know nothing of what we've been doing. Suspect nothing? No. And of course, you just noticed the door of the tomb open and blundered in to examine what you found there. I found nothing in there. I was running from something. I saw the door open. I looked inside. I saw the light. That's all. Running? From what? From one of the guests. He came into my room in the night. Raymond, you too. I'm afraid I'm going to have to do something about that lecherous creature. Well, somebody ought to. Why were you examining the cotton? The cotton? Oh, the cashew nuts. Well, if you saw your ancestor's tomb open and a light burning in there and a carton of cashew nuts on the floor, wouldn't you be curious? Cashew nuts. What are they doing in there anyways? I'm very fond of a cashew nut, Miss Walton, especially that variety. I just thought that was funny. Oh, this would make such a great made-for-TV movie. So he locks her, not in any dungeon. No. He locks her in the slave quarters, y'all. Oh my God. Like, that's the true horror. Again, some of these novels, I know they're angling towards like other horror, but the realities are way scarier. To be locked underground next to the sea in slave quarters, I don't care what color you are. That's fucking terrifying. That's a lot of darkness. That's a lot of energy. That's a lot of energy in that space that you don't want to be just in. That's a very awful place. And he's going to lock her in the slave quarters. Absolutely not. As she's locked in there, she stumbles around, finds Adrian. He is nearly half dead. He has been beaten to a pulp.
The dogs have kind of gnawed on him, you think. He's gray, yellow bruises, whatever, half naked. I think he's got his trousers on. She fumbles around in his trousers. And she's also like really like cut up and stuff. And she's ripping her slip to make bandages for all his wounds. So she's kind of half naked. He's half naked. They're bloody. They're bruised. They're scared. She's feeling on him, trying to see if he's got anything in his pockets that can help this situation. It's kind of like a little sexy moment. It's nerve-wracking, but I just feel like in a modern context, Netflix would definitely zhuzh up the sex appeal in this. She finds a little lighter in his pocket. Thank God. She lights it. He wakes up, mumbles. They exchange stories. He thinks her coffee was drugged, and they're trying to figure out which maid is the bad maid. And they're also like, Gail is like, what is the deal? Why is the maid in on something? Why is Felton wanting this? Is Cottrell in on this? Are the Sicilian workers in on this? Are all the people, like, am I the only one who's not in on what's happening here? This is my damn house. And this is what Adrian says. And I'm not going to do the Adrian voice, so I'm going to say this in my normal voice because it's a lot. Packing cans and cartons, Gail, he said. Cartons like the one you saw in the tomb. They had one can open on the table as though they'd been examining it or checking. They'd opened the bottom and it wasn't cashew nuts they'd emptied from it. It was some kind of white powder or crystals packed in tiny plastic bags hidden in a false bottom of the can. He pulled me closer. I'd give my right arm not to have looked in that cell, Gail, because that's what I saw there that stirred up these people like hornets and involved you. Felton told you he'd make a profit 6 times the value of Granite Folly. That's more than $500,000. I'm afraid it adds up. The yacht you saw, the cartons, big money. What's happened to us? You mean they're running contraband? Like Captain Granite? I stated incredulously. Narcotics, Gail, he said softly. So this went from spooky kooky Scooby-Doo to now Miami Vice. They smuggling some crack up in this pirate's house, which I guess is honest to what the pirate like vibe is. Because I mean, that's what Captain Folly was doing. He was smuggling, buggling drugs and people. They just keeping up the tradition. Cottrell shows up and he makes a greedy deal because he's like, look, you weren't supposed to be involved. She's like, are you in on this? And he's like, not really. But if I keep quiet, I won't die. And she is begging for her life. And he's like, I can't, Gail. I can't. They'll kill me. They'll kill me. And she's like, they'll kill me. She makes him a deal that she will offer him more money than God and he will get half as her agent, blah, blah, blah. He essentially puts a price tag on a human life. He's like, okay, if you promise me you will give me half of this deal, I will let you out. And it's insane. He gives them, he's like, I can't let y'all out because there's like a lock, obviously. But Adrian's like, if you give us that iron bar over there, these bars are real rusty. He's like, I can probably get us out, which is that's a big bet to make that you can break out of iron bars. But anyways, he's like, look, give us that iron bar. We'll give you 2 minutes to get out of here so people won't know you gave it to us. That'll let us get out with an excuse. You'll still, like, everybody wins. So Cottrell gives him this iron bar and he fucking runs. And Adrian immediately starts working on trying to break out. And Gail's like, I thought you said you were going to give him like 2 minutes to get out. And he's like, fuck that guy. I'm getting out now. Go, Adrian. So they break out. And they are trying to figure out what to do. Because again, there's rocks, there's cliffs. They're in a cave underground. They get out onto the beach and they're just trying to see where the fuck to go. Because again, this is like the middle of nowhere island. It's Alcatraz. Like, where do you go? And there's drug lords everywhere. And now it's not explicitly stated, but I get the vibe that everybody that is using that, like leasing and using that castle is drug peddlers. So they see the sand, they go down the steps, and they're about to dart towards some other place. I don't know. It's not important. There's one little thing, Adrian, I said, putting my arms around his neck and kissing him. His response was instantaneous. He put down the arm bar and took me in his arms. I broke away breathlessly. Why'd you do that, Gail? Does a girl need a reason? Maybe not where you come from, but she does where I live.
when she's beautiful, feather-brained girl with too much money and too much time for it. And that's all you think of me, feather-brained? Who thought of the heel of my shoe to open your padlock? I don't mean that, but when a man falls in love, if you can't understand, it doesn't matter. I think it matters a great deal, Adrian. But for once, I wasn't being selfish. At least I don't think so. I just thought something impelled me to kiss you, to show you how I felt about you, while I could. He looked deeply into my eyes and smiled. I see. I'm not sure that you do see. And what was that you said about a man falling in love? I'll take that up with you another time, he said, squeezing me. Come on. He took my hand in his and looked out. All clear. Just let those guys try to stop us now. Okay. This is where shit hits the fan. And a lot happens literally to the last page. Like, Caroline Farr does a good job of making shit hit the fan literally till the last page. And then the last page, they go like, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, like, it's real crazy. So hold my hand as we go through this, y'all. They make it to her Camaro. And he has to wire it. And them old cars are pretty easy to wire, which must be such a bummer. Well, I guess now you can steal cars like with Wi-Fi. So I guess it's easier. But back in the day, it was pretty easy because they were like, if you had a relative understanding of mechanical stuff, you could hotwire any of those cars. So he hotwires it, but he doesn't do it fast enough. And this little New York girl, she's like on this poor little, like Gail. He's a Canadian government worker. Okay. He's not going to know how to hotwire your Camaro in 5 seconds. Like, girl, you get down there, show him how it's done. As they finally get in there, it's running. They're driving away. Because again, like, this was written by a boy, so it makes me angry. He mocks her crying because she's been through, I'm sorry. It's been what, 2 days? A day? Maybe even less than 2 days. She's had a doozy of a time. She's been held in slave quarters by a drug lord who puts his drugs in cashew nut boxes. A handicapped man, crawled into her room trying to grab her. She's been chased by Dobermans every time she leaves her room. And not even that, in her room. She's had a rough time. And now she's having to run down the beach into her car, hotwire her car, and try to get out. No. And he's like, oh, you're just like a woman. You would cry. And I understand he's trying to hype her up. He's like, but you were so brave. You stood up to this person. You did this. You did that. You were such a tigress. Why are you crying now? And it's like, because I'm a fucking human. The road is flooded, of course, because again, with all of these tidal rifts, whatever they were called, coming in and out. And it's kind of like if you've seen Ponyo, you know, the part with like, Ponyo's coming out of the water and like the mom's trying to drive off, like she's driving on the windy roads and she's driving like through submerged streets and there's water crashing. It's that vibe. Like and it's raining. It's just a lot of water. He says, okay, we should get out and go on foot. She at least has a smart idea of like, are you fucking kidding me? We're staying in the car. There's dogs on this island. There's wolves on this island. Have you seen Cujo? They finally slowly, you know how like, I don't know if any of y'all have ever been in that situation where it is a road that's flooded, but you got to get out. And so you kind of have to like hydroplane coast your way back to safety. They kind of do that in this big ass boat of a car. And he's like, oh my God, we did it. I can feel the road underneath us. And so he floors it and ka-thunk, they hit a submerged hollow. And so the car is going underwater now. And she's going to die. She's like, we're going to die. This is how I die. This is how I die. The car's going underwater. Gail thinks that. And Adrian has the smart idea of when your car, God forbid, is going underwater, let it fill up with water just enough to where it reduces the pressure on the outside. So he waits until they are chin deep in water in this car. They're having a Titanic moment. And they do get the doors open and get out. But still, can you imagine you're trying to escape a drug lord at your castle? Like all of the stuff I just said. And then you're like, oh my God, we're free. And then you go underwater in your giant hunk of a car and you're just like, I'm going to die. This is how I die.
I mean, the level of claustrophobia I would be having. They are wading through these swamps. Like, they get out of the car. They're half naked. Remember, like, Adrian's beat up. He's half dead. He has wounds, like, really bad. They're scraped up. They have no shoes. They're wandering through this wilderness of this raining, awful island in southern Canada with wolves and dogs running around. They get up high enough, they notice truck headlights, and they're like, fuck, they're looking for us. Great. The truck stops, looks at the Camaro. They're kind of spying through like bushes and stuff up high and watching what happens. And then they see another pair of headlights come out. And they're like, oh shit, that's Cottrell. What's going to happen here? Because he kind of was the last person that saw us. And so Cottrell stops at the truck, gets out, and all they hear is kill, kill, and a bunch of dogs barking. And they have to listen as Mr. Cottrell is ripped limb from limb by Doberman pinchers. I would love to hear Adrian say, why are you crying now? So let's, again, these pages, just to recap, it's a lot of half-naked Fran Drescher, Rick Moranis, wading through swamps, wading through rivers. They're like, we can't, okay, look, it's an ocean. The sea is around us. This is essentially like a peninsula situation, an island, if you will, surrounded by the sea. They don't have a car. The one road out is submerged. There's dogs. Like, what do you do? Adrian has the Hail Mary idea of he sees ducks. And he says, we got to follow the ducks because ducks go to freshwater. If there's freshwater, there's a creek. We can follow the creek upstream. Like it's only thing you can do is just always follow freshwater. I know y'all recalled me bitching about the Blair Witch Project. That might be my first Patreon, is me recapping the Blair Witch Project and just bitching about how that is the worst camping trip ever. They make mistake after mistake after mistake because much like in this situation, stay with the fresh water. Don't leave the fresh water ever. Stay with it. We finally get to a freshwater swamp. They're in the reeds. Again, she's probably like, is he still in that ugly ass Sesame Street like outfit? Like, is he in like this too big of pants? I don't know. Is he in his underpants? Who knows? She's in her slip, probably freezing. They hear the truck come up. They hear men shouting. They hear the dogs being let out. They're thinking like, we're going to die. These dogs are going to find us. And we have this. Gail, he said earnestly, when I squeeze your arm, crouch down and stay exactly where you are until I come back to find you. Understand? No. I don't. Will you do exactly what I say? Yes, but. Good. Now, not another sound. We moved slowly through the shallowing water. There was no way of knowing when the dogs picked up on our trail into the swamp. They were trained to hunt in silence, and then we heard Felton call to the men. Adrian gripped my arm and pulled me down. I glanced back cautiously over my shoulder and saw the flashlights moving steadily towards the sea. He helped me up, and we moved up. We were across the mud flaps, moving towards the trees. I stumbled once, and his hand caught my wrist and forced me down again. His fingers squeezed me so hard it hurt. He moved away from me, hesitating. I felt his arms around me. His lips found mine. Adrian. He put his lips to my ear. I love you, Gail. Of all places, Adrian. Wait. But he had gone. I was alone. And so what is happening here is Adrian has gone to go get the truck, because if the men and the dogs are gone towards the sea thinking they've gone that way, he's like, I can go grab that truck. Very brave, very Hail Mary. She gets up, remember, to like go after him. She is grabbed by one of the men. He stayed behind and he grabs her and he's choking her. And again, she's like, this is how I die. Luckily, Adrian shows up with that magnificent iron bar he has kept the whole time and clops that man on the head with it. They get in the truck and they finally make their escape. And this is where I will read the last paragraphs of this. As we sped away from Granite Folly, I stopped crying. I told Adrian what I thought of him for leaving me alone back there in the dark after telling me that he loved me. He hadn't even given me the chance to tell him that I felt the same way. This spring, Adrian and I are driving up for the official opening of the Granite Folly as a National Historic Park. Adrian tells me that I'm to be the guest of honor, and the way he puts it,
My going there is an obligation I can't escape. Adrian works very hard now that he has become the leading architect. He does not have to work at all, really, but he prefers it that way, and I have come to accept his decisions. My life has purpose now. I no longer am the spoiled, selfish girl I was, and deep down, I know I can never really regret going to Granite Folly, for it gave me Adrian and a new way of life. Felton managed to escape at sea before the Canadian police could reach Granite Folly, but he was caught in Portland, Maine, extradited, charged with the murder of poor Cottrell, convicted, and sentenced to death in March, just before our wedding. Vivian and the men on the yacht all received long terms of imprisonment for the complicity in smuggling of narcotics and in Cottrell's death. There are no longer any guests at Granite Folly, but the Paretos are still there. They were innocent in all this. I forgot to mention that. The Sicilian couple that worked there, they were innocent, so they're still there. Maybe Gail took Mrs. Pareto to get her lip waxed. You know, a little girl's day in New York took her to Little Italy. I've been trying to persuade Adrian to take a 6-month vacation in Europe with me. He seems to prefer a month in Baja California fishing. I will protest, of course, but in the end, we'll go to Baja as he wants. After all, I don't care very much where we go as long as we're together. And that is Granite Folly, y'all. I don't think we will be reading much Caroline Farr in the future. God rest her soul. She makes a great Margarita and Rainbow Bright, but writing, no. Off the top of my head, why introduce Raymond? This is Montana State of Mind, by the way. This is where I say my state of mind after reading this book. Why introduce Raymond? Why bring up, it just seems, in my opinion, cruel to be like, excuse my language here, but this was kind of in the book, he's a crazy cripple and he's dangerous and he's in a wheelchair. Like, what did the wheelchair have to do with any of it? And like, I know what you're saying, like bad people can be handicapped. Like they aren't all angels. I get it. But I just felt like it was a red herring of like, I thought he was trying to help her. I thought he was like, maybe had like a speech issue or something, or like something else. And he was trying to warn her. I guess not. I guess he was just after all the girls. It was just kind of like seemed like a really cruel thing to include, regardless if he was in the wheelchair, of just like, this guy just keeps grabbing these girls. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Is he one of the drug kingpins? Like, what? It is accurate portrayal of a pirate. I will give Caroline Farr credit. She did tie in the history of pirating with the slavery and everything, tied with modern pirates with drugs. So I will say, probably one of the more accurate portrayals of a pirate. Again, with the love. Now, I, of course, put this, as I've said a million times, I just think this is a Rick Moranis, Nanny Fine, adorable movie. That's who I want to see with these shenanigans and then running half naked through the ocean. And just, it's just so cute, of like this cute little New York socialite, and she's absolutely in her like little crocodile skirt and her heels, and you know, she's doing that Fran Fine of like, oh, like running around this haunted house with a fire poker. And then you have like little cute, adorable Rick Moranis, little Canadian boy, and he's got his glasses and he's just like loves history and architect, and the little boy in him's like, oh, maybe there's treasure, and there's not. Oh, so cute. That would have made such a cute movie. And then also, this is perfect for, it starts out spooky, kooky pirate, turns into Miami Vice. And we loved that back in the day. We loved a Miami Vice kind of situation. This was better than Witch's Hammer. Better than Witch's Hammer. But I don't think, again, I will be reaching for the Caroline Farr novels in the future. Okay. But yeah, like, because Caroline Farr, again, like we talked about last time, they give a lot of red herrings. Like, there were other characters I didn't mention because nothing came of it. Nothing came of some of those characters. There was a dog trainer in there. I guess I'll tell you about it now. There was a dog trainer. He brought them soup, brought them lunch while they were locked in the slave quarters, talked to them. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm Felton's dog trainer. I'm the one who like makes the Dobermans for him. And he was kind of nice to him. And then we just never hear from him again. It's like, why bring him up? What's the point? I don't know. And then I don't think enough time was spent on Felton, maybe. Like, you're just not super attached to him as a villain. You're just kind of like, I don't know, some random British guy who puts crack cocaine in cashew nut boxes. I will say, reading 4 books in 1 month, and keep on top of this, I do read like for fun. So I'm reading like my normal novels. It has been exhausting. I don't think I will ever read 4 books and come out with a video every week. That is exhausting. I don't know how some YouTubers are doing it. For the month of November, I have 2 books planned out. I'm going to try to get 2 books in November. And because it is November, which is Native American month, I wanted to do Native American centered stories. Now, I know what you're saying, Montana. It's going to be like super fetish-sized, hot Comanche warriors, probably. But honestly, a lot of these novels have been very well researched and very honestly kind of like respectable of the people in them. Not perfect, but for the time and what we're expecting, I'm going to go into next month's novel, Forever and Beyond, with optimism that it is going to be a wonderful story that is well, because they've all been well researched. So I'm going in this excited. We're going to have a lovely romance with a hot Native man and this lady. We'll get into the cover next time, but let me read y'all the back so y'all can get excited. Him. And real quick. I know this will be a good book because this is Penelope Neri, y'all. Penelope Neri wrote this. That's the one who wrote Desert Captive, the one who started this journey on this channel. Okay? We're going back to our roots. We're going back to Miss Penelope. And she has not let us down. Honestly, she's held the bar so high. We have yet to find a book that has topped Desert Captive. Now, this one's a chunker. So I'm kind of wondering if I can read it in, less than a week. But we'll see. Let me read the back for y'all. Him. She would always be his. Badly in need of a change, newly divorced Kelly Michaels traveled to Arizona to forget her troubles and put her life in order. But instead of letting go of her past, Kelly was haunted by nightly dreams of a raven-haired Indian warrior who drove away her worries with his powerful, loving, kissing her tenderly, caressing her boldly, and pledging his undying love. His searing touch was more than intimate. It was oddly familiar. And as he sensed her deepest desires filling her with a consuming ecstasy, Kelly knew her handsome bronze-skinned lover was no phantom, for his passions he awakened with his teasing touch were all too real. He seemed to be calling her back to another time, to a place where they could find a chance to love again. Penelope Neri loves star-crossed lovers finding each other's in dreams. Again, Desert Captive had this theme. Okay, let's get to him. He would always be hers. To the proud Comanche warrior, White Wolf, it seemed that 100 years had passed since the spirit of his beloved wife had taken flight into another world. For many moons, he'd shared blissful days of tenderness and nights of scorching passion with his wondrous, blue-eyed treasure, reveling in the satiny feeling of her ivory skin, her luscious, dark tresses, her firmly rounded curves, until a great tragedy had robbed his precious blue beads of her very soul, leaving White Wolf with a mere shell of a woman. But now the spirits had granted him the power to reclaim her from the world of tomorrow, and White Wolf vowed to hold her in his arms again, to bring her back to the place where their love would last. So is he a widow? Of her very soul. A mere shell of a woman. Is she dead? Or is she alive and he's gonna... What? Is this time travel or is this happening now? Is she going back in time? What is happening? I will say, I do kind of hate... These novels are well researched, but I will say they lean heavily on beauty can only be found in blue eyes, green eyes, white-skinned people. And as someone with beautiful big brown eyes, I feel so sorry for my audio listeners who can't see them. But as someone with brown eyes, I do hate that blue eyes and green eyes, you know, are always rewarded. But this was in the time. And it's still done to this day. Have y'all read modern romance novels? The girls, we haven't changed a bit. The girls are always so petite. Y'all, they're so whittle. They're so whittle. They're just so whittle. And they have big doe eyes of like, now they don't even do blue and green. They'll do like violet or gray or like some shit no one has. Anyways, so I can't sit here and say like it was a time because authors are still doing it. Anyways, luckily we have more representation as people with brown eyes are now finally writing books and appreciating their beautiful, earthy, coffee-colored chocolate eyes. But I'm excited for that novel because Penelope Neary never lets us down. And I am very curious, like I said, is it time travel? Is he going to put her body into his wife's body? What's going to happen? I don't know. I hope y'all enjoy your Halloween if it has happened or has not happened. Stay safe, and I will see y'all all very soon.